George Orwell's classic Animal Farm provides an eerily realistic analogy of the historical events inside the Soviet Union from 1917 all the way to the 1940s. Released in 1945, the book is meant to show a simpler perspective of historical events. These historical events include the Russian Civil War, Stalin's exiling of his political enemies, and the German invasion of the USSR. Early on in Animal Farm, there was an attempt by Mr. Jones, as well as several other farmers, who were scared of the implications of the animal revolution, to retake power on the newly named Animal Farm. This, of course, represents the Russian Civil War, which in effect was to reverse the Russian Revolution and to put the Tsar back in power. The Russian Civil War in Animal Farm is shown as the Battle of the Cowshed. The Battle of the Cowshed ended in a victory for the animals, the communists, against the farmers, who were anti-Bolshevik forces, as well as Western powers supporting those anti-Bolshevik forces. The two pig leaders of the Animal Farm, Snowball and Napoleon. Snowball represents Leon Trotsky, who was leading from the front and was a war hero during the Russian Civil War. And Napoleon represents Stalin, who was more behind the scenes during the Russian Civil War in the Communist Party.
The actual Russian Civil War did not just last one battle. It was a brutal conflict lasting from 1917 to 1923. Immediately after the revolution, there was an armed resistance to the Bolsheviks. These anti-Bolshevik forces were called the White Armies and were supported by Western powers. The Western powers were represented by the other farmers who were helping Mr. Jones attack Animal Farm. These armies fought the Red Army ferociously, but due to a lack of unity among the anti-Bolshevik forces, the large White armies based in the Ukraine and Siberia were defeated.
After the revolution and Battle of the Cowshed, there was a power struggle on the Animal Farm. The old major, representing Lenin, Karl Marx, and original communistic ideals, died out, and the two pigs, Snowball and Napoleon, took over, of course representing Trotsky and Stalin. Napoleon, of course Stalin, was getting increasingly totalitarian.
Snowball, representing Trotsky, who was also a communist, was seen as a threat by Napoleon and exiled off of Animal Farm. This is very, very similar to what Stalin did to Trotsky, exiling Trotsky to Mexico in order to gain more power inside the Soviet Union.
Near the end of the novel, there is a conflict between the Animal Farm and Mr. Pilkington's farm. The two farms begin to trade with each other, and eventually tensions rise between the two farms.
This represents the pre-war relationship between the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany. The nations are cooperating until a surprise attack by the Germans on the Soviet Union, known as Operation Barbarossa.
In the book is a few mere men attacking Animal Farm, but in real life, Operation Barbarossa was the largest invasion in military history. In fact, the rest of the theaters of World War II combined are still not larger than the Russian theater of war. The animals eventually stopped this attack near the windmill on the farm, a place of symbolic importance to the animals.
This symbolizes the battle for the city of Stalingrad, which is widely perceived by historians to be the worst battle in human history. The fighting in the city was brutal, street to street, house to house, in the Russian winter with temperatures far below zero. But a Soviet counteroffensive eventually pushed the invader back and away from this important symbol for Russia because the city bore Stalin's name.
Conclusively, Animal Farm is a fantastic analogy for Russian history from 1917 to 1945. It creates new characters to represent real historical figures like Stalin and Trotsky and the two pigs, as well as creating events in the novel to those of the actual Soviet Union. These all overlap to make a fantastic story.